What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So it's discussion episode time number 2. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Comment down below. It all helps the channel out. Every little thing does, whether you think so or not. Episode number 3 should be dropping about Sunday, technically next week, I guess. And we're going to go over a bunch of different Cyber Dragon variants, and I will have a couple deck lists to show. Today, we're going to talk about some consistency cards, some fusion cards, and some extra deck cards. So, jumping right on into it, we have Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Desires, and Small World. These 3 consistency cards, what should you play, what could you play, should you not play any of them? Well, we're going to start out with Desires. Banishing 10 off your deck and drawing 2 is a free +1. Do we get hurt by the banished 10? Sometimes, but I do like Desires in like very OTK focused builds where you just really need to see your certain card to push for game and win, I guess is the best way to put it. Banishing 10, especially if you're playing 40, has a higher chance of banishing an important card. So sometimes it does require playing multiples or playing more bricks, because if you banish your 1 and you can't do anything, that's obviously not going to be good. So do keep that in mind. I think of these 3 cards, Desires is the worst. Prosperity, however, is probably the best, especially games 2 and 3 when you're trying to dig for that side deck card to help you push and win the game. This card is absolutely insane. This card needs to go to 1, if not get banned. This card is broken. This card is amazing. If you can get this card, you should probably play this card. If you're doing the Power Bond OTK route, you can OTK through this card very easily. So, sorry, just woke up and getting ready for work here shortly. So if I seem a little slower, that is why. But Pot of Prosperity is just absolutely insane. Like I said, with the Power Bond OTK, you can OTK through it despite your half damage. You're digging 6 cards to get the card you need off your deck. And like I said, after siding, that card just becomes infinitely better. Small World, unlike Prosperity, doesn't dig 6 out of your deck. However, it does go grab any monster you want, because if you use the right bridges, you can bridge your entire deck together. Go check out our last video. The title, I forget, or not last video, our last Cyber Dragon video. The title talks about the Small World bridges using things like Symphonic Engine to not only help you make rank 5s and Infinity, or like Durandal Lock, or River Stormer to search out your Therion King Regulus. It also bridges your entire deck so that you can turn any card into Core, Galaxy Soldier, Kurikara, Ash Blossom, things like that. It really helps the deck out a ton as far as consistency goes. Being a neg 1 means pretty much nothing, because what's worse, bricking or neg 1? I'm going to say bricking's worse. I had put a picture up in the Cyber Dragon group a couple weeks ago saying, what could you do with this hand? And pretty much everyone's like, oh, you brick, or oh, that's bad, or you can't do anything. And actually it set up follow-up with 2 negates because of Small World. So it was like Kurikara, Small World, Symphonic Guitar, Clockwork Knight, which was unused in the combo, and one other card. I want to say like Repair Plant, maybe something like that. And you like Small World into Core, then you had Core Repair Plant for your Galaxy Soldier plus body, and also the guitar to get that other level 5. And there's some neat plays. We're working on a combo video for that deck, by the way, and some other fun projects. Moving on to some more consistency cards, we have the triple tactic cards. We have Thrust and Talent. Thrust is insane. You could search your Overload Fusion, you could search your Power Bond, you could search your Prosperity, your Small World, your Cyber Emergency, your Overflow, your Dark Ruler, your Raigeki, your Talents. Card's crazy. Card is really good. If you're playing, not to jump into variants, but Sky Striker variant, you can search out your engage. I think thrust is very, very good. It's even better in going second decks because obviously you have a higher chance of your opponent using a monster effect if you're going second. Going first, I mean, they could hand trap you, but hand traps, we'll see if they make a bigger impact on the coming format. Talents, kind of the same thing. Going second, it's a much better card because the odds of your opponent using a monster effect are much higher. Going first, it feels good, especially if you get hand trapped and you didn't need your effect, to be able to look at their hand, gain that knowledge, and rip a card. I do like both of these cards, especially in a going second deck. Fusion spells, Cyberload Fusion, Overload Fusion, and Power Bond. Well, I don't like Cyberload Fusion pretty much at all. I think it takes too much setup. It's not quick enough. There's certain fun plays you can do with it, such as like setting it with overflow and blowing up your opponent's entire board. So you overflow, pop like monsters and banish your cards, and then after in a new chain you Cyberload Fusion into Rampage and pop all the traps they set, since they can't be activated or chained to it at that point because they would just set that turn. It's got fun plays, but overall I'm not huge on the card. Overload Fusion, I wish it was searchable. Card is very strong, it's very good. Thrust, I mean, makes it searchable, so if you're playing Thrust, it absolutely becomes even better. I like Overload Fusion as like a one of, depending how aggressive you're being. And I mean, that's one of those cards where you could argue you could play like 3 of and play Desires and even play like a Power Bond or 2 and just really try to turbo into that OTK. Again, not saying that's the best build or the best way to play the deck, just that that is an option. If you're looking for consistent ways to play it, the Power Bond is actually pretty consistent because you have Core, Emergency, Claw, Horizon, and Realm that all act as starters because, well, Horizon bridges that all together. Keeping in mind if you use that route, you do lock your extra deck route to machines only, so you can't do things like All Mirage. However, it is very consistent, and if you open just any monster to discard for your Naxter, you can actually OTK through Pot of Prosperity, because when you summon your Rampage, you mill your Hers and your Naxter, and then Hers gets Naxter back. Discard monster, summon Naxter, Naxter revive the Seeger, and then you have a Seeger to boost your Rampage up to 63 because Power Bond already put it to 42, which is 18,900 damage. I think Power Bond is the most viable of the fusion spells, and then Overload Fusion followed by Cyberload Fusion. Looking at some extra deck stuff, the first two we're going to talk about, Pleiades or the Chronomaly Vamana. So what is better, a bounce that you can use your turn and then a following turn later, or your opponent's turn, your turn, a following turn? You can do it twice because you detach 1 material to bounce a card on the field, or Vamana where you detach 2 and negate a monster effect. I don't know what I like more, because Vamana doesn't destroy it either, but at the same time, negating a monster can be very good, whereas Pleiades doesn't negate. However, it obviously can hit things like continuous spells or field spells, and then they will resolve without effect because they must remain on the field to resolve. I think both of these cards are good options. Vamana also being a machine, so you can play it when you're locked into things, helps out quite a bit. They're 2 rank 5s that I think you should consider playing in your deck. Some more niche going first lock type options. We have Paradise Smasher and Artifact Durandal. Paradise Smasher, Savage Pete kind of put this card on the map. He played it to get a VFD type effect, especially if you have 3 materials, and then you can treat one of your rolls as a 7 and pretty much ensure that you're going to, VFD your opponent basically, because they can't roll 7s. You can. So you just win the die roll. I think it's a niche card. I think that it has uses. If you play enough extenders to get into your rank 5s, it's a very good going first option. Is it truly the best option? I don't know. That's up for interpretation. However, I do think that it could be a fun card that catches people off guard. Artifact Durandal, anytime Droll is in a format, this card is very good because you can do a reincarnation Droll type lock where after your opponent searches for anything, you chainlink 1 Durandal to shuffle your guys' hands into the deck and draw new hands. Chainlink 2 Droll, so Droll resolves, Durandal tries to resolve, you shuffle your hands, neither player draws, but ideally you're only losing 1 card out of that because you would make your board and set your cards. Your opponent is going to lose everything. Like I said, if Droll's in a format, I like Durandal a lot. If Droll's not in a format, I don't like Durandal. It also works with Overflow, where if your opponent tries to use a monster effect, you can detach a material from this card, and then the effect becomes destroy 1 spell or trap your opponent controls. So then they destroy your Overflow, which you could chain, pop their cards, and then since they destroyed it, you can also float it into a cyber spell or trap. Gaia the Dragon Charger. I like this card a lot right now, especially because Dark Ruler No More is very strong, and we don't need to OTK. You can play the deck as a mid-range control board break style deck, and Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger allows you to throw it down over an Infinity. So like you can make Infinity absorb one of their attack position monsters, make this, it also does piercing damage by the way, and then you could slap down a 6 material Zeus, and that means you can board wipe on your turn and then still have 2 board wipes on your opponent's turn, so it allows you to just make a very, very strong Zeus. Almost done here with this video for today. Relinquish Anima. I think Almirage is our go-to link one. If you have room, especially if you're one of those playing 3 kaijus, I think Anima becomes even better because you can summon Anima to the zone, or kaiju to the Anima zone, summon your Anima using your Hers or your Naxter, and then the effect to attach the kaiju, and all of a sudden you get a free 3300 beater that you just got for outing your opponent's monster, a little bit stronger than just making a Fortress Dragon. Sky Striker Ace Azalea. I always thought this card was a little mid. It's decent, you know, destroying a card, but I feel like it's too much resources to do that. I think it never should have been played in our deck. Like I said, it's got uses being 2 light and or dark monsters, and we can make it easy enough. I just don't think the resource cost for it in our deck that struggles with resource economy is worth it, especially for the payoff. So I always thought this card was a little mid and shouldn't be played, but I've seen it popping up more and more. However, whenever we get it, SP Little Knight. This card is broken. This card is a fan card. This card, especially if you just set up like Infinity IP Masquerena even, plus another monster obviously, unless you want to use your Infinity, but then you go into Little Knight, it gets its protection from Masquerena. That's why it's absolutely broken, but that's not quite why it's broken. It's broken because when it summons, you can banish a card on the field or in the graveyard. That's pretty good. So interaction 1, your opponent uses a monster effect. You can banish 2 cards on the field, 1 being a monster you control. So essentially you summon it, you banish a card, and then your opponent uses a monster. You banish it and another card that they have. So this 1 card can banish 2 cards off the field or graveyard. That's kind of busted. When we get this card, it's going to be insane. It's going to be in a lot of things. Be ready for it. Yeah, SP Little Knight is pretty broken. That's it for this video. Let me know what you think about any of these cards. What cards should we talk about next time? I have some ideas, possibly going for like board breakers, big blowout cards. Should you play evenly? Should you play Dark Ruler? Things like that. Super Poly doesn't make a comeback. I guess I shouldn't say next time, but like episode 4, 3 is going to be variants, or do we just kind of shelf this for a little bit and maybe we just start doing combo videos on different variants instead? Let me know down below what you think, and until next time guys, thanks for watching and take care.